Hey everybody, here's a garden update for you. It's another weekend and another time spent in the garden. So what are we looking at? Well, the cherry tomatoes that are behind the fence here are in front of, well, they're in front of the fence, but they're behind everything else. You can see that they're growing tremendously up high with lots of tomatoes, and there's lots of low tomatoes here that we have to get. Really prolific. So we need to start harvesting some of them. And some are tiny. I mean, they're cherry tomatoes. But yeah, here's another little batch. These are kind of a, what you call, these are the variety of the black crims. And so you can see they're kind of dark in color. They're kind of purple and green, and then they turn. And then let's see what we got here. Yeah. So some of these are ready to be picked too. Here's some. There we go. And looking back here, you gotta get back here through the trellis. Hopefully the openings are big enough, but there you go. What else do we have here? Lots of the lower ones, of course. You know, when the plants are small, they grow the lower tomatoes, and then as they grow higher, then it's easier to get. But here you kind of get on your hands and knees a little bit. Now I'm trying to utilize and maximize my space, which means they're behind the trees and the flowers here, but it does, oop, that one's not ready. It does, you know, they do grow well here. I just gotta get myself and squeeze behind here. There we go. You gotta be careful you don't pull off any of the ones that are still green. But sometimes it's hard. There you go. So lots of the yellow ones, they grow really well here in this sun, in this climate. We'll have lots of cherry tomatoes, as you can see. Let me try to get back here. The hard part is when you got tiny hands or big hands and tiny holes to pull them through. There you go. I could cut out some holes and make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, see, I have to kind of navigate around stuff here. Oh, let me get down here too. Ooh. I need a little smaller person to squeeze behind here. Definitely a little challenging. But, like I say, you're trying to maximize your space and grow as much as you can, and it's like, why waste what's behind here? The only problem is the flowers grow in front of you. And so I have things like artichoke there that are blocking my path a little bit. Alright, I can still fit my hands through these holes. There we go. Oh, there goes the green one. There we go. There we go. So we're getting a big handful here, and as we pick these, of course, you know, the other ones will then probably turn color faster. That's kind of how, you know, it works. There's less for the plant to do. So the green ones can start to turn color. There's another little batch. There we go. Trying to hold the camera and pick tomatoes. There we go. It's a nice group of tomatoes so far. And like I say, they're all different varieties of cherry tomatoes. So some are bigger or smaller than another as I, again, navigate around. Let's see what's back here. A couple red ones. These are more traditional red tomatoes, red cherry tomatoes. There we are. I know it's hard to focus here too on this. It'd be easier if I had a camera person and then I could pick and somebody could take the pictures as I squeeze through here. Oh, any others ready to go? I'll take that one too. You can see how they are really getting ready here. Definitely they've grown fast. Here's some of the yellow pear ones. Those are nice too. Those seem to grow real well. Here's a weed. Might go pick the weed while I'm here. One good thing about down here is that the weeds stay pretty low. All right. I've been trellising them up as they've gotten bigger, and you know, they seem to almost self-trellis a little bit as they grow. Let me walk out of this path here, give you a bigger shot. Okay, so you can see that they grow good behind all these trees because they get a little bit of shade too. They get us a lot of sun, but they get a little shade, and so that's a good thing. So I've kind of harvested everything that looks good, and now you can make a nice salad or share with your neighbors, which we end up doing a lot too. So okay, so that's cherry tomato harvest, and we'll see what other things we got going on in the garden. I'm doing it here early in the morning while it's cool before it gets hot. All right, we'll talk to you in a bit. Hey everybody, here's another garden update. What's going on in the garden? Well, the cucumbers in the containers are getting bigger. Hopefully they'll start trellising up. They're a little bit pale though. I don't like that. Same here with the bitter melon, a little bit pale. They look a little greener, but they're also a little bit pale because I don't think they're getting enough nutrients. I gotta really up the fertilizer here, which I've done, but I don't know. I think they should be a deeper green. In this first row here, I'm kind of a little bit disappointed because the cucumbers aren't very big. Now, as I come and look here, oh, there's one that got hidden. Look at that. Look at that one. Let me pull that off. Yeah, there you go. That one got hidden from yesterday, although they seem to grow overnight. And then here's one that's a little bit small. I'll wait for that. But these plants are a little bit smaller, on the smaller side than the ones on the back row. It's really interesting. Even the peppers here are starting to catch, which is great, but a little bit slower. Here's the eggplant, what I planted from seed and the grow lights, and they're starting to grow really well now. They're starting to catch. And the beans, the yard beans, are starting to catch there too because they're starting to trellis up. And they're green and leafy, so hopefully that fertilizer injection I gave them is working. Now, how about back here? Let me put this down. How about back here where the cucumbers are really doing good? So I've kind of, pruned and tried to guide them up the trellis here, which seems to be working fairly well. I don't want them to block out these peppers here, which, they tend to do. So you have to make sure, everything's getting enough sun and attention. Now I'm looking for some cucumbers here, and I don't see anything that is coming at me. Let me go on this side. Oh, down here there's some, oh, there's one that's growing. It's not at the right size yet. There's a lot of lower ones here you can see that are getting bigger. So these are longer cucumbers here, so I'm not gonna pick that yet. A lot of bees out this morning. And you gotta come down here and move things away. Like there's another one that's growing, but it's not ready yet. So lots of potential coming back here, and as long as the bees are pollinating, that's gonna give us a good chance. So let's see what's on this side. Anything here worth picking yet? No, nothing this morning, but what I'll do is I'll come through here and trim some of this. Make sure it's, being well maintained and optimal, and pick any weeds that are coming through. This bed here is empty. I'm gonna have to put some more seeds down. And back here is the sweet potato vines, which seem to be getting stronger and better from even the last week. So that's a good thing. I keep looking here for, for in the past, the sweet potatoes have really grown, not an outward expansion, but more wherever the main root is, wherever the main plant is, it's going down there and staying local. So that means with some gaps here, I could get a few more slips and plant them in some of these gaps and try to, again, maximize my production, because you can see back there and there's a few gaps now. So we'll see what we do. If the stores still have some slips I can get, they're not expensive. All right, so other than the one cucumber I picked here, and you can see it's different varieties that I've got, then, you know, there'll be more to come. And those plants will, you know, are definitely growing, and maybe these will eventually kick in with some more fertilizer. All right, let's take a look at what else is going on in the garden. Hey again, folks, how's the onions doing? Well, the onions have been doing pretty well. You know, we've been, instead of harvesting them all and trying to keep them then in a cool location, we're just leaving them here and using them when we're ready to have some. But they're really, you know, getting to the point now where maybe we're going to harvest more of them, because I'd like to use the space to plant some more stuff. So you can see that they're sticking right out of the ground here. So let me pick one for you. Shake off that nice dirt, because look at how nice that dirt is. I mean, it's dirt, but it's clean dirt. That's a nice onion. That's really nice. What about here? This one back here. Yeah. There you go. They don't always have to be giant size. They can be medium size, and then you can use the stems too. But we'll pick some onions here and use the opportunity to pull out some of these weeds before it overgrows everything. Marigolds are doing good here that we've planted. But yeah, I'd like to maybe clear out a little space and start putting some stuff here. So that's going to kind of make me, you know, pull out some of the onions, which onions will stay. Put them in a cool place. So I got two purples that I've picked here. Let me see. Here's a nice yellow one. There's a nice little yellow one to pick too. You know, these are good, of course, on the grill, salads, all sorts of different things. And they're very fragrant when you pull them too. Here, I've started some Swiss chard in containers here, seed starters. And now what I'm going to do is plant them here. You know, sometimes you can plant the seeds directly in the ground. That's, of course, the normal way of doing it. But sometimes they get lost, or the moisture or whatever washes them away. So starting them with plants, you can kind of place them a little bit more even. You know that they're already going to come up. Let's see here. What else do we got? The beans. So kind of like bush beans. Those are always good. We enjoy them. And so they're starting to come up here too. You know, I pulled away the mulch just to give them direct access to the dirt, and it looks like most of the seeds are coming up here, which is good to see. Now, there are some spaces here. It's like, okay, maybe some of those seeds are just not going to come up, or a little bit slower than the rest of them. But as soon as I see most of the seeds germinate in the plants, then I'll put the mulch back around it just to keep the moisture content going. And you can see there's one there, but they're looking pretty good. Again, you know, not every seed comes up. That's why you put kind of multiple seeds to hedge your bets. But yeah, if all these come up, then we'll have some nice bush beans, and that'll be good too. Looking over here, we planted onions here. Now these didn't get near the size of the ones in this bed, but I had some space and I'm putting them in. But now they're flopping over, and you can see that they're a little bit smaller onions, so it's probably not going to get any better once the stems flop over. So you can see I'm pulling them out now because they're about ready. So we'll have some nice smaller onions. And again, with this space here, this is really the goji berries. Yeah, look at that. Here's a nice bundle. Again, you know, some neighbors might like them. Here's the goji berries. Now, the goji berries got some nice green leaves, but they're kind of turning some color, and they've done that last year too. But that doesn't mean the plants has been in trouble, because they kind of start recovering. And I don't know why it kind of goes through that stage of it gets the leaves and then they kind of yellow a little bit. Maybe the heat, they don't like this heat. They start to you know, stress out, but then they seem to come back. So interesting with the gojis. And I'll kind of clean this out, and once the onions are gone, and take out these weeds and let these gojis come to fruition. I'll probably trim some of them too. Raspberries here, you know, if you look back, you know, it's like, did they transplant well when I moved them over to this bed? And they obviously did. And so they're doing really good. What I need to do is put some string through here now to kind of start having them not, you know, flop over as they get really big. The artichokes are doing well. This one's good. That one's not so good. The one in the pot is doing pretty good. Weird. Now here I got celery, which the heat is making some of it go to seed. And I also got fennel, which seems to be doing okay. I was wondering how this is going to do in the heat, so maybe we'll have a little fennel here soon enough. The zucchini I've been disappointed in because we haven't had a lot of zucchini, and some of these leaves look a little sickly. I don't know what it's been here. Too much moisture, too much something. But they haven't really produced like normal. Normally you get lots of zucchini. You can't, you know, not grow zucchini. It's a pretty, you know, easy plant to grow, but you never know what causes it. Powdery mildew, something. So, you know, not really productive here. If these plants bomb out, it's easy enough to put more in the ground. How are the tomatoes back here? Well, they're getting big for sure. And I'll probably have to tie it up just a little bit, stake it up, because they're really starting to expand. I always say I'm going to keep it in check, and then it gets away from you. But yeah, the tomatoes are doing good, and I got the strings to keep them trellis, and there's green tomatoes all over them, and they're nice size too. You know, sometimes it's hard to grow the big tomatoes in North Texas because of the heat again. You know, it gets too hot. But by trying to water and fertilize and doing everything you can, these aren't doing too bad. So you can see I'm pulling a few weeds as I'm talking here. You can see that the tomatoes are definitely growing on most of the plants. And there's one there that's this little dinky plant. I don't know why it's not getting bigger, but there's a tomato there. You know, the new blackberries are growing well. We'll have them be really prolific very shortly. They'll fill in this bed. And then, of course, the old blackberries are doing well. We've been out here every day for the last probably week and a half, pulling them and sharing them with neighbors and eating some and turning some into jelly and freezing some. But you can see here that I'm pull these right off. They're ready, and I'm going to eat some. They're good. When they turn black, sometimes they need a couple extra days before they get sweet. Here's one that's really big. I'll have to taste this one. You'll have to come through and, you know, give them a look. When they're shiny black, they're not ready. When they stop taking the shine, then they are ready. And you got to get in here and look at all of them here. So I'll come back through here and start harvesting some blackberries when I don't have the camera in my hand. But they really do well. They like the heat. The new canes are growing and getting bigger, and I'll need to string these up and really cut the top off, because this one here is too big. You know, you don't want it this tall, so I'll cut the top off because it's getting too big. And that way it will have lateral growth that will help, and that will string these up as well. Back here, these tomatoes are as tall as me. These are 5 foot, almost 6 foot tall tomatoes, which is great to see this. Now, of course, they do have some big tomatoes here, which are great. You can see them all throughout. The only problem is I put them on the back fence, and it's a little hard to get back there. Now, those are turning red, and I'm going to have to get them before they go bad or somebody eats them, because the animals will get them. The poblano peppers are getting very tall too, and I got them strung up, and that's a good thing. We should have some nice poblanos here in a short order. They're tall plants. But we want to move this fence so that it gives us more garden space, and then I could get 360 around these tomato plants. I'm using the space but not realizing I'm gonna have trouble getting back here. They're even coming over here and have to trellis them up because they're coming over to the corn in the bucket. So we see how we're growing some corn. I see some ears. Will we get corn before the squirrels do? I don't know. Look at all the blackberries here. Look at how those look. Don't those look great? Really nice. Really, really nice. And then over here is the perpetual spinach and the Swiss chard. Now, you know, I used my method to put the seeds in, you know, proper spacing, and for the most part it worked pretty well. But again, when you're doing seeds, you know, do all the seeds come up? You know, do things wash away? And so, yeah, I got a nice row here, and this is a weed. So I have to plant some more. I still had some space here to put some more, and these are coming up, and so they'll start to take up the rest of the space here. But I tell you, I really like this perpetual spinach is what it's called. It reminds me a little bit of, it's kind of like Swiss chard, but it's a little bit almost like a bok choy, because it's like got a Swiss chard stem but a bok choy leaf, and it's really good. And I fried this up with some stir fry, and you don't pull the whole plant, you just get the big leaves and it'll keep growing. I'm gonna plant some more of this. I got some more starting in my grow lights, and then I'll come out and, you know, replant. But they do really well. They like the heat, they can tolerate the heat. They're not really too bitter either, which is good. So yeah, everything looks to be doing well. This is the original blackberries. It's a different variety, it's a smaller variety, and I was gonna move these plants because again, I can't get behind them and I don't want it so jungly. But the new one started to grow here too. So I'll have to figure out where I want to put them. Maybe what I do is next year, just like the blackberries are in the middle, move those plants here. Although I like the newer varieties I bought because they're bigger than this variety. But I could find a new home for the roots and stems there and plant them somewhere in the middle. Again, it's like your house, you're moving furniture around. Let me get this cucumber so I don't forget. You can see that this cucumber I picked from the plant's a little bit different varieties. You know, some are more bumpy, some are longer, shorter. It's nice to have a different variety of them, see which ones you like the most. Okay, so that's a little garden walkthrough. We will show you more stuff again later on. Okay, so how are things going over here? Well, the loofahs are growing. Now, I worry about the moisture content in these containers because I got the area watering, which is great. It covers the area well, but I also worry about the containers. Are they getting enough? What I think I may do here is kind of set on one of these zones a line just to keep my containers going. And you know, sometimes theoretically I don't like to mix the sprinkler heads with the individual container ones because I sometimes worry about the pressure regulation and if it's too much and stuff like that. So I think my zone I'm gonna pull this weed because I seen it. I think I'm gonna do that, and that way my containers will have a little bit better watering. And you can see the loofah here starting to go up, which is great. Now, unlike cucumbers, this loofah seems to have one main stem that's growing up. I thought it would spread out more trailing vines. Maybe it will later, but so far it's like one big vine. My honeyberries I've planted in these containers as well. And you know, when plants come in the mail, sometimes they get a little bit banged up and stuff, and you know, a little bit broken stems. But I put this in here. Hopefully, just like my blackberries and my other plants, it's going to start growing from the center, and we'll have some more. You know, and the honeyberries will be okay. But you know, I transplanted in there, and we'll see what happens. Because I really want to grow honeyberries. There's certain things that you try to grow that you fight with. It's like, why can't I grow honeyberries? And again, I'm fighting Texas and the heat, but still, it's like I want to grow them. The gooseberries, the plants are terrific. I mean, the ones that I transplanted here from the containers are doing well. And so they're nice, strong plants. Now the question is, am I going to get gooseberries? Are they going to flower? Are they going to get, you know, established and grow. That's what I'm hoping on. It'd be really cool if I can get gooseberries in Texas again, typically a colder climate. Here I got a cucumber that I had this in the container and I'm trellising up. So we got that going. Extra bitter melons. And I got here my scorpion peppers, and they seem to be catching finally, and lots of little flowers and getting bigger. So here they're getting more of the area watering. Here's some more weeds that we have to pull, but that's a good thing. The herbs over here are doing well. They really have started to take off, and you know, they're ready to be harvested and shared with neighbors. Everybody can use herbs, and there's usually more than what we need. You just have to come in here and take these tops off so that they don't go to seed and that they'll still grow. And I got different kinds of basil here. The purple basil, the Thai basil, and the regular Italian sweet basil. So it's kind of nice that they're doing fairly well. Along with the dill still hanging in there, although it's starting to go to seed. It's going to get hot, and it doesn't like hot weather. So you can put these, if you're making pickles, you can still use that in your pickles. The sage took off, so is the oregano. Now out here, the eggplants and peppers are doing really, really well. Looks like they finally caught. There's little eggplants here. Look at the eggplants that are here, and I'll cut some of these. Even little eggplants are good too, you know, and that way the plant will get bigger as we harvest some of the early fruit. But the plants are strong and they're healthy so far. Doesn't look like there's any bugs or eggs or anything, so that's good to see. And then of course over here we got many varieties of peppers, and I like the shishito peppers. They're really good. They're prolific, they grow a lot, as well as the Hungarians and the others. So we picked some yesterday, but looks like they're still not ready to be picked yet. They're still on the smaller side, but it's May and it'll be going into June, so this is when this stuff is all going to start to, all of a sudden you'll have more than you know what to do with kind of situation. Here's some of the jalapenos and the sriracha peppers. So yeah, just kind of moving the plant. You can see, you know, that they're coming along well. All right, our dwarf banana plants are still alive. They've survived some cold weather and some other things, and even the lemons and limes here in the container are still sticking around, which is nice. You can see there's even a little lime there, a little lemon. That's cool. I have some of the original ghost peppers that I've transplanted in containers. These two I ran out of big containers here, but I want to transplant them too, and they've been growing from a year ago. So you can keep them year over year. You just got to bring them in if you live in a climate where it gets cold in the winter. This loofah here wants to not go that way. You got to come this way and trellis. I got to kind of train it to like come over here, get a little bigger so you can wrap around and start growing up to make our trellis. We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's a little update here. The flowers, of course, are always doing well. These cannas, you can't not kill them. But that's a little update, and we'll keep doing more updates as we go through. Talk to you later, everybody. Bye.